Yes, sir. Welcome back to another Trap or Die film session. I am your host of the Trap or Die podcast, Molly Mual. And listen, man, on this episode, we're going to talk about Brandon Coleman, Washington's newest draft pick, newest offensive line draft pick, left tackle slash left guard out of TCU. On this film session in particular, we kind of know at this point, now that some days have gone by, that at least according to one person in particular, Ben Standig is who I saw from The Athletic, who covers Washington. They're going to be looking to utilize Coleman or give him a shot to be ran at left tackle. So I think that's going to be interesting. On this film session in particular, we're only going to be looking at him at left tackle. So we're going to look at some of the traits that stands out for me that I'll show to you, and we can kind of get a consensus of who Coleman could be for the Washington Commanders when he starts playing. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button as well. Be a Brandon Coleman film session up next. All right, so one of the things for Coleman as we start this film session, what stands out with him is his athleticism, but also his strike timing as a blocker as well and pass protection. He brings a punch. And it's consistent in these instances, right? Like, he's a forceful guy, but let's kind of start with his footwork already getting to his pass set. You see the feet working, right? Like, it's no wasted movement getting to a set point. And also, as he establishes that half-man relationship, right, where he's able to cut off that rush path for the defender. This is a 7 technique. So outside of the tight end, but also, he's not wide now. So outside of the tackle, outside of the tight end, he's a 7 tech. So he's a little bit wide for Coleman, but obviously, again, showing that footwork and taking getting to the right set point in order to cut off his rush path. And then obviously just completely shocking him at the point of contact with that strike, 2-hand strike, mind you. Another one is same game against Kansas State, but you kind of see the shock again with his strike timing, right? And his strikes, just seeing what it does to the defender. Like, it completely takes him out of the play. Again, with your quarterback rolling left with some pressure on his right side. 44 was able to get back into play, but you see just in general, his arm lift stands out as well. That's something that I failed to mention off rip, but you kind of see it and why, he's a really good prospect for both left tackle and left guard, but definitely for Washington, in Washington's case, left tackle. As we continue the theme, right now, this isn't necessarily an angle set, just slightly getting off the line of scrimmage, but again, look at the damage that he does to 47 as a rusher, right? Let's go ahead and run it and just look at the shock again. Independent hand usage, being able to do this effectively with one arm, right? Get him off base, but he does some good work. And then the number 9, the running back, comes out the chip as well. But you see the work that Coleman does at left tackle, just being able to bring that power in his punch and also mirror as well. So that's another thing that Coleman does well that I think is good for an athletic left tackle, especially when you're going to be out in space sometime, facing some of the league's best rushers, is being able to mirror and stay in front of these guys. Here for Coleman, you're seeing a different area in which his hands are working. It's active. It's always active, right? So we're not talking about strike timing now anymore, right? We're talking about what happens when he's engaged. And one of the biggest things for Coleman is how active his hands just typically are when he is engaged in pass pro, right? Now you see right now he's engaging in a battle with 55. It's going to be hard for you to see, but you just got to pay attention. If you look at the left arm of Coleman, you can see 55 trying to work him and basically just both trying to battle to gain leverage and win the engagement, right? So as he sees 55 working that arm, he refits. That's what you see him right here. Refits, gets back under his chest or into his chest, and then completes the play, puts him on the ground. You're not able to see it, but he put him on the ground on that rep. So just independent hand usage, being able to work one hand independent of the other one that's doing something completely different, and having that processing, that awareness, or just that comfortability, because some people aren't really comfortable doing that because they don't want to make a mistake or lose contact with the defender, and Coleman is able to use his hands well. So here we go again. The athleticism part we mentioned mirroring, right? So now you're talking about number 9, who's trying to take advantage of Coleman's set, right? He takes a wide set point, but Coleman, as you see, his lower body, right, just being able to stay in front and cut off the rush path, right? just effectively mirroring the defender and keeping him away from the quarterback. That's a really good rep and a solid mirroring job, just staying in front, using his athleticism, changing direction, keeping that guy out of the face of the quarterback. And one thing that we get into with Coleman, I'll show 2 examples, is that snatch and trap technique that defenders use, that offensive linemen use to defeat people who or rushers who try to put their hand in their chest. Again, I mentioned how some offensive linemen just aren't comfortable, working their hands in the engagement because they just want to keep that contact. They want to stay sustained with that block, and they just don't want to, have that vulnerability. That may not be the right word, or that exposure to being beat in that instance. But anyway, as Coleman, as you see here, first and foremost, being able to process this pressure right from the Oklahoma Sooners, you have 40 dropping into coverage, and he's able to show some good post-snap processing, understanding that as he drops, he may have somebody coming towards his gap from the right side, his right side. So you're able to see that, right? And now as 94 tries to use Coleman's chest for leverage, get up off me, sends him down. Really good rep for Coleman. Another one. 89 again, same thing. Defenders try to, use his chest for leverage and set up their rush move. Get off me. Get him out to play. And again, look at him running with the defender. Like he's engaged. He's not giving up or not letting them go. But again, back to the snatch and trap. Defenders being able to use his chest or keep their hands in their chest. He does a good job of staying clean in that regard. So I mentioned that we're exclusively at left tackle, but now that we're transitioning to the run game, I think this is just an example of how he performs in open space. Now he's at left guard, and you're just seeing how he's able to move in that space, but also that arm length, right, that we mentioned, being able to get hands on 11, right? 11 didn't stand a chance, but he has that acceleration, that late burst to get to him, but also finishes with that play strength and just running through the block. That's a really good rep from Coleman as a guard on this play, but you kind of see how he operates in space overall here and how TCU kind of runs their has their setup in terms of their run game. It's a lot of power plays involved, but you can kind of get some instances of how he performs in zone schemes. But overall, you kind of see his fluidity here in pulling across formation, which is good in itself, but also being quick enough to get to that line and be that lead blocker for number 9, who I like, by the way. After watching this, I think he's gonna be a pretty good draft pick next year. Pretty good running back coming out if he does decide to come out next year. But you see that being able to locate, get it in position to make a block, and not looking lost as he crosses formation and gets to the second level. So here is an example of him at left tackle climbing to the second level, like we showed with the left guard rep. But now he's climbing onto the second level, and you see the acceleration, that short area acceleration, right? He's uncovered, so he doesn't have to really clear that first level. But he's uncovered, gets to the second level, clears a hole. Unfortunately, the running back trips, right? But you see the lane that he cleared for that back. Lastly, for me, you do want to see him finish a little bit more in the run game. The leg drive is something right here that's really good, but you don't see it consistently, right? So I don't know if it's a weakness, but maybe if he can just get a little bit more emphasis in terms of his competitiveness in the run game, which is finishing in that regard. But you see him sealing that left side as 21 takes off for a big run. That's really good. But I think he just, like, this is a good rep of him being able to finish, right? But I think you need a little bit more consistency in that regard. And that's gonna wrap it up for me on this film session. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all took some nuggets from that. I think the main thing with Coleman is he's athletic. He does show some really good footwork to be comfortable in space and that left tackle area. So I think that I understand the idea of trying him out at left tackle. I'm saying if that is something that can work here in Washington. I also think that his hand usage is pretty good for the NFL level, right? He's already there. You can keep working on it and building, but at the same time, it's there, and that's a really good start. So he's going to be active with his hands. He understands how to defeat some moves, some initial moves, but he also understands how to refit for leverage. He understands how he can stay sustained or in an engagement and things like that. So I think that's really good. Run game, he's smart, but also at the same time, I do think that he has to work from some technical standpoints of being better. Like his power level is one thing that can get him in trouble at times, but also his hat placement when he's engaged in one-on-one blocks. Like if his hat is if his head hat, if he's too low, he kind of looks down sometimes, and it leaves him susceptible to inconsistent hand placement in the run game, and that can kind of get him beat as well. So like those kind of things coincide, but I also think technically speaking, those are things that can get fixed. It's not fatal flaws. I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of what he does on the next level, but I do see the traits, and I hope this film session kind of put that out there for Coleman. So y'all let me know your thoughts. What do you think about Coleman now that you got a little bit more of a deeper glimpse into the athlete, the player, who he is? But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hope you all enjoy. Leave comments, and until next time, peace.
Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Dive.